Good evening. This is the December 23rd, 2014 Rhinebeck Town Board meeting. And get this thing right. And we'll start with the pledge. And we have my 9-year-old having her birthday today, so Natalie and her sisters can help me with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So good evening. Any announcements from the public? Tonight is the last meeting of the month, so we have some business to conduct. This is also mine and Gina's last meeting for whenever.
I have a couple of announcements.
Okay.
One of them is the ice skating rink is almost ready to run. So January and February, pray for cold weather, and you'll be able to ice skate again. The other thing is, as this is Tom's last official meeting, I have to read something.
Oh.
So, when Tom took over as supervisor in 2008, the new board assumed responsibility for the comprehensive plan, revised zoning regulations, and freshwater wetland law, as well as many other open matters. I'm getting nervous here.
Bruce.
I don't know why.
Bruce is getting emotional.
Yeah. These matters included active lawsuits, an EPA judgment, accounting problems, dormant grants, DEC violations, Board of Health issues, and relics in the park. Then the recession hit, along with the breakdown of the state retirement system and the tax cap. Tom facilitated several new ways of getting things done in Rhinebeck and leveraged his influence with the county and state for the betterment of Rhinebeck. During Tom's 3 terms in office, the boards were able to handle all of these issues, improve local government efficiency, and expand multi-generational services while keeping taxes down. It's been an honor to serve with Tom for the past 6 years, and we thank him for his many contributions to Rhinebeck. We have a present for you. We have the seal of Red Hook for you.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for all you did, Tom.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You colored between the lines, too, I see.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Well, it was the whole board.
Thank you
And the
for-
town.
Sorry, of course.
From the
Thank you
town.
all. Thank you,
Town.
members of the community. Thank you very much.
That's lovely.
Well, appreciate it. It's been a pleasure serving with all of you. It's we've had been a unified government over the past 6 years. Many towns go through difficult times with their governments, polarizing manners. But I think we've done a good job sticking together. And even though we've had our differences, we've certainly overcome many obstacles. So certainly appreciate everybody's working together here on this town board. Also, Dodd, Crane, and Ellen Silverstein, and Dan Staley, and that was it, right? Those are the only ones that I can remember.
It's been so long.
It's been so long, yeah.
I remember Dan.
But also, of course, my kids have grown. They're grown up so much since then, and my family's been by my side. So without them, I wouldn't have been here to do all this. So I want to express my appreciation for all the volunteers. There's been a lot of sacrifice out there. I know you've been with us to accomplish many obstacles and to make improvements in our community and help people live independent lifestyles and to survive these difficult financial times in our world, in our community. So I thank all the volunteers who, if I start naming them all, I'll forget some of them. So I'm not going to even start. But thank you all for all we've accomplished together. And with that, Gina, thank you for coming along.
You're welcome. I just want to say.
I have an announcement.
Oh, jeez, Joe, just wrap it up.
No, I speak very slowly, Gina, and you got to let me. I first met Gina 4 years ago when she and I were nominated to run. All I knew about Gina was that she had won a prize for the best rhubarb pie at the fair. In the 4 years that I've served with Gina, I've learned that her skills are much broader than rhubarb pie. Her chicken pie is extraordinary, mushroom soup, excellent, and stews. Seriously, one of the high points of my tenure on the board is getting to know Gina. She's generous, caring, a mother, a chauffeur, a cook, a companion to the elderly, and a town board member. And it's really a very full plate that you carry. Gina has become a chief bargainer on behalf of the taxpayers of Rhinebeck. She was active in getting our AUD cost prepared at a substantial savings. She was active in shopping for attorneys, and she has been active in possibly outsourcing payroll. She's been an advocate for the natural burial at the cemetery. Although I know Gina and I will always keep our friendship, it will be very difficult sitting next to another person at the town board meetings. Gina has a tendency to bring food to town board meetings, so I think this change might be good for my waist, but I would really miss Gina. So we do have something for you, Gina, and that's your request. You did not want a plaque, but
Oh, it's
something
beautiful.
else, so,
Beautiful. You can sit them right here.
okay.
They're gorgeous.
So we thank you for your
you, Joe.
service.
Thank you.
On the board.
It's been a great pleasure to serve for the last 4 years, and it was way more work than I had anticipated, but it's changed the way I move through the streets and sidewalks of our town. And I can't cross a bridge without thinking, oh yeah, that was $477,000, and that culvert was $37,000, and that person's in violation. I wonder if he's fixed it yet. And it's just, the ordinary person has no idea the things that we deal with on the town board, and I do now know that, and I feel really comfortable that it's going to be left in very good hands, and I look forward to continue serving the town and the village of Rhinebeck, both at the cemetery committee and helping out with the zoning board. So I'm not gone for good. But everyone have a great Christmas and a good New Year.
Moving on, to any further announcements?
Jim Reardon, Mayor, Village of Rhinebeck. Tommy and Gina, thank you both. I think when you enter into public office, as Gina said, you really don't realize how much work it actually is. And it is a tremendous amount of work. And, no matter how much people may think you do the job, to be recognized, or for glory or whatever, that's not why you do it. You do it because you like to be involved. You do it because you want to get things done, and you do it because you love your community and you love the people in the community. So on behalf of myself, the members of the village board, thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hi, Kathy Kinsella, Town Highway Superintendent, and I just couldn't let this go by without giving my thanks to both of you as well for your service. Gina, you've not only added a sense of style to the board, but of spirit. You're always talking about the sports teams and the school, and you keep it all connected as a sense of community, and that's just been great in terms of bringing that forward. Tom, I told this to you privately, but I do want to say it publicly. I find you to be such a graceful and a gracious person. And I thank you for that presence very much, and it will really be missed. So thank you.
you, Catherine. All right, I hate to say it more than any other announcements, but
Well, I just can't let this moment go by either. I'd like to congratulate my little brother on his retirement from the town board, and also you, Gina.
Thanks, Howie.
And Tom, you didn't really get me involved with the village board, but you did make me think about serving the public. And Gina, I just want to make sure you water that tree that we planted on.
have, I
Okay,
have.
good.
I think of you every time, too, that you'll be proud.
all right, so, hey.
Come here, girls.
What do we say?
Your girls are very, very.
Hello, little people.
We're proud of you. It's all we've known. All the girls have known pretty much their whole life is Daddy being town supervisor. And we're very proud of you. And they're very silly, but we love you. And we'll let Jillian and Natalie do the talking. Come sit down.
You tell me first. I don't know what to say. Talk we're really proud of our dad for being town supervisor for 6 years, and we really don't want him to stop being town supervisor. And do you want to say something? What did I say? Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. Guys.
I'd just like to say that I really enjoyed getting to know you and serving with you, and what you've taught me or shown, is a deep respect and knowledge and love for the people in this community, and it's admirable and very touching, and I want to say thank you. And Gina, you will be missed, and I hope both of you will continue to stay involved. You've been both great advocates for the town, and I've learned a lot with both of you, so thank you.
Thank you, sweet.
Very much.
Tom, if I may say on behalf of the board, we do wish your daughter a happy birthday. And thank you for coming tonight.
Where's the cake?
All right, so moving on. All right, any announcements, any real announcements here? All right, so moving on to business, everybody.
Hi,
Hi, guys. See. So motion and second to approve the December 9th town board meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So moved. Item E is a village fire contract and workshop, and so we have some sort of agreement to have a working workshop in the future with the mayor and the village. Come on up, Heath.
So Heath Tortorella, trustee with the village. I serve as the liaison to the fire department. I know it's been said many times, but thank you, Tom. Thank you, Gina. Good luck to Elizabeth and Elaine in their new roles, and the council person to be named later. Good luck as well, and to the rest of you that will remain seated where you are. Here to talk about the fire contract. As you may or may not know, we are working towards an agreement to continue coverage to the town's fire protection district. What we do have is a 4-year period of data that's available. Bruce took a look at it to start, and just a little background on where that data comes from. So they have a little printer over in the fire department. It's called a Rip and Run. It comes from Dutchess County 911. Call comes out, gives a piece of paper. Maybe another apparatus is sent to the fire. Another piece of paper comes out. They're returned to duty, made available for another call, another piece of paper. Call is completed, another piece of paper. They get stapled together for that one call and goes in a box. And Bruce has seen there's 2 boxes about this big for the last 4 years. And just how we get to the data that we gave to you guys in the past on I think, a couple of occasions. The fire department, I don't believe is required to compile any data from that. They do compile data for their own purposes, and after that, they extract data from that raw material based on what we asked them for. And up until 2010, all they asked for was a total number of calls. And since then, we've asked for more and more, which gave us the town to village breakdown and also the fire, EMS, and motor vehicle accident breakout of those calls. And that's the report that we provide every month at the village board meeting, and that's the data we use to give to you guys to support the increase that we requested for the contract for 2014. There's been some talk about looking back and dissecting those 4 years, and we have no problem with that. The data remains available to you. One suggestion I had is maybe we can work forward. We're working on a temporary agreement now to bridge the gap, but in terms of building a more long-term contract, maybe look forward. I've mentioned in the past that the fire department will, we can extract whatever data they want moving forward, would be a lot more manageable and probably make more sense than trying to put that 4 years and pick that apart. So that's something we could work together with in the future. I will note that as of November 1st of this year, I requested that they give us a breakdown of all the mutual aid calls. They're breaking that down to include one category for Hillside, one for Rhinecliff, and one for all others. And we reported that at our board meeting for the first time on the November numbers. So that should be a valuable piece that will be there moving forward to look at. In terms of the agreement that was sent over from Mr. Raplansky, we discussed that tonight, and we're prepared to enter the agreement with the exception of the amount. We want the amount to be 1/365th of the requested 187,953, and we'd like to see a 60-day time limit placed on that.
I'm sorry, would you read that?
Did you just repeat the amount? I didn't get?
187,953.
No.
Yeah. The agreement that came over was 1/365th, so a daily rate.
Oh, I get it,
Yeah.
136.
Yeah, and it was based on 156. The change that we would request was to make it 187,953 to match the number that we requested, and there is language in that agreement that would make it reconciled retroactively once the final agreement is reached.
So that would be part of the agreement, that wherever we come out, there'll be a retroactive adjustment if that's where we go?
Yeah, that's the language that was exchanged between the town and village attorney.
Do you have that language, Warren, or you don't have it yet?
I have a copy.
I don't remember the
This.
the reconciliation provision. Of course, our numbers were based on 156, but we would want if it's going to be based on the higher number, we would want a reconciliation back to the number that we agree on. So we can add that language, but I don't remember seeing it. This was added actually by your attorney too. We didn't have this. I did an original draft and then he added this, but that's fine as long as we have that language. It's up to the board. But as long as we have the language in there that we'll reconcile it back to whatever number we finally agree on, Yeah,
I don't know who added that piece in, but that's the draft that I saw had that.
It's not in any draft that we have.
Right?
Yeah, I'm looking at a draft, and I don't.
It doesn't have any.
But Heath, it was just shocking that we got such an increase this year when it first came to us in the budget workshop. It was way higher than any of the 4 budgets that I've worked on. And it just seemed unreasonable. So that's why the questions were raised about what we should be covering. Should we be covering equipment? Should we be covering administrative costs? There apparently are guidelines from the state that maybe we should not be. So we couldn't, in good faith, just go ahead and at the threat of sign it or we walk, which is what the mayor presented to us, we could not.
That's not what the mayor ever said.
Could you not interrupt, please?
So
Speak accurately.
when we were presented that it's too late and you have to sign it as it is, as presented.
I know I personally presented it to the board on 3 different occasions.
Right.
And no action was taken on any of those
Right.
moments in time. We did discuss the reasons for the increase at each one of those times. I'm not familiar with the
When did
guidelines.
you first present it to us?
In October.
October 21st.
I believe that's correct.
Okay, because for what it's worth, I'm looking at Town Law 184, which talks about, and it's not directly on point, but I think it's somewhat analogous, for a contract that has an indefinite duration. And Section 4 clearly says that if there's...
The contract is a 1-year term.
I understand, I'm
Okay.
saying
Well, you
it's
just
not...
said indefinite,
Could
that's why.
Could I finish though, please?
Sure, I just
before
wanted
you
to get
respond?
that. Sure, please do.
As I said, it's not directly analogous, but what it says is that changes should be made by the 20th day of August. And the theory, I believe, is to give people a sufficient amount of time. As you know, we were way into our budget cycle at the end of October, so that we didn't really have a lot of time to react to it. The budget was pretty much set when we did, and I think that's what caused a lot of angst on both the village's part and on our part, but came very late in the process.
Can I, first of all, thank you all for coming. I've spoken at length to the mayor and to Heath and to Heinz. I think this is something that, we can work out and need to work out, but we have concerns as well. It did come very late in our budget process. It was it a 25 or 26% raise? A $44,000 raise that we would be passing on to our fire protection district. I know that Bruce and you worked several weeks after the 21st looking at data, going back and forth, and I believe that Bruce did a spot audit of 1 month, November of 2012, where there were 68 calls. Is that correct, Bruce? About 68?
Yeah, I think that's
Call it
what it
68
was. Roughly,
calls.
yeah.
Out of that, we found about a 10% margin of error. We were charged for 6 or 7 mutual aid calls, one of which, or additional to those 6 or 7, was sending the fire department to Long Island for Hurricane Sandy. So, we realized that there could be a margin of error in how this was looked at. So we'd like a chance to audit it. And secondly, I'm not sure, how did you base your charges? How did you charge us before? What was the methodology for charging us before? Do we know? I mean, what you're proposing here, just so the public is aware, is we had one type of charge being levied by the village's fire department to our fire protection district, and it was proposed that it go to a per-call basis. But what was
It
it?
has not been proposed to go to a per-call basis. We just used the number of calls to divide the cost. It would still be the way it was proposed, the number 187. If there were 1,000 calls to the town, it would be $187,953 for the upcoming year. The contract.
But you did use
Yeah.
the call
Yes, we did.
volume, so it is based on call volume, because you used that as a guide
But
to
we've also
reapportion.
asked if you had any suggestions and how you think it should be calculated, and we don't really see any other way to do it. I know there's been
Parcel,
talk about,
population,
there's been
or-
talk about parcels, there's been talk
Right.
about population, but the bottom line is, when the truck leaves the station, that's what costs money. It doesn't cost money to protect the vacant lot that the truck never goes to.
Well, most of our firefighters are volunteer, so they're not, it's gas that we're paying for.
Correct.
Really, you're taking the whole amount
Right.
of what the village spends on their fire department, and you are dividing it by the number of calls,
Which-
and then charging the fire protection district based on that apportionment. Is that
The calls that go
correct?
to the district.
Right.
Now,
And included in that cost is all of the capital replacement, or the capital purchases that the fire
Sure.
department makes.
the volunteer firefighters would have a hard time responding to a fire in the fire protection district without a truck that we must pay for and other equipment. So yes, the cost of the equipment, whether they're financed, purchased outright, that all gets rolled into the cost of operating the fire department and responding to calls within the village or outside of the village into the town.
There's apparently some sort of issue with us paying for equipment that we as a town do not own. And that's something that I think we have to address as well. This whole
I think-
contract
yeah.
brought up a bunch of things that I don't think many of us were aware of. I know I wasn't.
I would think
And-
that would be the nature of a contract, though, that you're not purchasing them so that the village is purchasing them and you're contracting to use it. So
Right,
that would,
and now
I mean,
the
that's
way-
inherent to the contract situation.
But we have been charged in the past separately for capital. We have a
We've had line items for
$7,500
it.
fee for.
Yeah, you guys split it out, line items. I can't answer
No, I
to
don't
why
think
you do that, but we don't split it
I
out.
don't think we split it out. I think you split it out to us.
I don't know, this is probably something that you guys need to do in a workshop, because even though the other fire departments purchase their equipment with a capital balance for it, they still probably use our funding to build up that balance. So even though it's on the back end there, it's on the front end here.
Right.
It's
We
something
do
that you
have a
guys-
contract that breaks this out, and we do have, our old contracts did break this out. There was a $9,000 charge for fire truck and a $7,500 for ambulance. So
Correct.
that's, what is that, 16.5 right there, within this number that I think, Warren, can you speak to this? Is
Well,
that?
I mean, you paid, I reviewed the contract, since 2008, you paid $54,000 towards a new fire truck, which is not owned by the town. I mean, if that gets traded in, it doesn't inure to the town's benefit. And we wouldn't be able to purchase that outright. That's clearly not permitted. The question is whether putting it into the budget and not revealing it in the budget and putting it as a total amount, even though we know we're paying for the capital improvements and the ambulance, which we paid $22,000, is, meets state controller's muster, which is something we have to talk about. But it really should be disclosed when the contract is sent to us, how you've broken down the contract into administrative cost and capital cost, and that's something we'd like to talk to you about.
Okay, just out of curiosity, do the other contracts, are they all split out that way? Between Hillside and Rhinecliff?
Bruce?
And on top of that, have there been a similar examination? Or do they just get, straight up?
Nobody's come
yes?
to us for a 25% hike, 2 weeks before our budget was
It
due.
wasn't 2
So-
weeks, but regardless, I mean.
2.5 weeks?
So whatever money you give to them,
It was.
you don't analyze it, you just give it to them, and then with us, because it's more you analyze it. Was that what I'm hearing?
I don't think that's accurate, Heath, but I also don't want you to see any, and I don't think there's anyone in this room that's an adversary to the fire department. I even served on it when I first moved to Rhinebeck until I had 4 children, and it was
Thank you.
too much, but I think you guys are spectacular. I think everyone would agree with that. Now, though, that I know how the town works, we actually have a vendor-vendee relationship with the fire department. It's
Correct.
not, and so we have to look at it as a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
type
Someone
of-
comes to us for a 25% hike 2.5 weeks before our budget's due. It's our responsibility. It's our fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers and the people in the fire protection district to make sure that we're getting the best deal for the best services. So, and we have said, that $44,000, we have to be able to work this out because we're all here for the benefit of Rhinebeck residents.
And safety.
How did you decide in previous years what our charge would be?
That's what
I
I
mean, I can
asked.
tell you, I've been on the board since just this year. That's my
Right.
first year. And, I analyzed all the data that I had, and, I talked to Elizabeth about this, and I didn't approach it as a real estate deal or a car deal. There wasn't a 20% built in, say, well, we really want 30, so let's ask for 40.
No,
It
no,
was, we
with
did
all
straight up
due
numbers, this is what
With all
came
due
out.
respect, I'm not asking about how you came up with
Oh, I don't know.
this year's con.
I don't know.
Right,
In the
because we don't know, we don't have any clue
Yeah.
as to, I believe, as to how it was figured in the past. This is
Do
obviously
you know,
a change.
do you know how it's been figured for Hillside or Rhine Cliff?
Well,
Nope,
we're-
we get,
Because say, maybe if they have it all right, maybe we could follow the model there. If the town's done all the analysis and it's all straight.
we get a very small.
Joe, wait.
Joe,
demand
hold
for-
on, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're proposing.
Yeah.
We just need to verify it.
Yeah, and that's what
all.
we're,
The protection district that you cover
Mm-hmm.
has paid for 75% of the operating cost, just the equipment, capital, and contractual expense from 99 to 2012, according to the state data. And that balances out nicely with the other fire companies that we deal with.
okay.
They give
Now,
us.
this is the first I'm hearing of this data, so I'm not
No,
familiar with
and
talking about,
I'm
yeah.
learning about this too.
Okay,
We're all becoming experts in fire.
Trying.
But then when you look at the capital part of it,
Mm-hmm.
then it goes down to 48%. So that's a big swinger. But the day-to-day operations, the district's,
yeah.
funding a lot, and you count on that revenue in your budget.
Our revenue, you mean, our,
From us.
From us.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the other fire companies, as far as we can tell, they give us their budget every year. They have different worksheets, each one does it a little differently.
Yep.
But we can see what they're doing for taxes, what they're doing in revenue from us, and what they're doing from fundraising and interest and that kind of stuff. And we see how they're gonna spend the money. They put money away, usually a certain amount to buy equipment.
Right.
And you do that sometimes too.
Yeah.
So it's something we need to sit down. We probably need to get the commissioners into the discussion at some point, so we really get a good understanding of it. But I think 60 days, we can work it all out.
Sure. I mean, and for the village, we are the commissioners, the village board.
Okay.
We are the commissioners
But
of the
with
fire
other-
department.
With the
yeah.
other companies.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference with the others. They're a contained entity of, they have their own board of commissioners, and they don't have, all the other departments to operate, whereas the village, the fire department is a department of the village, so it gets funded out of the general fund. So it's not as clean as you would see in Hillside or Rhine Cliff, and that's not by our choice. That's just the way it is.
So
We can
you
get a
have,
copy of these call sheets, so we can,
Yes,
Get a date.
there are, the sheets are available.
and you say that you have time in, time out also come through on a printer?
I believe that's on there as well, yeah.
And am I correct in believing that mutual aid is determined by the 911 operator as to who gets called if there's mutual aid?
I believe that's correct. The Dutchess County 911, the EMS organization, there's an agreement, and they determine where the nearest piece of equipment is. So it's not that Rhine Cliff or Rhinebeck would always be the mutual aid for, it's on a case-by-case situation. So, if Rhinebeck's equipment is out east somewhere and there's something in Rhine Cliff, maybe Red Hook would go, or Hillside. It's
Or if it's on the border of Rhinebeck, they may call Red Hook or...
Correct. It's a case by case. It's not a one-to-one. So that's why you would see mutual aid that could go anywhere in the county or even outside, the county in
guys talking
cases
about
of
dates yet?
disaster or emergency.
You guys talk about dates yet?
Now, I would just like to note on some of the discussion as we compare to the other departments, the Rhinebeck, the Village Fire Department responds to more calls in the town protection district than Rhine Cliff and Hillside respond to in total, not just within the district, but within their own district. So you're not really comparing apples to apples when you're talking administrative costs, equipment costs.
Is-
It's a much bigger operation.
I have one go ahead.
Well, that's why we should all get together
Yeah.
and see if we're doing this the right way.
Sure.
You know, not only specifically with the village, but fire protection for Rhinebeck, do we have it structured properly? Are we working as smartly as we can? Is there one area in Rhinebeck that is needier than any other? Why? What's pulling it? What's happening?
I can't speak to the exact numbers or where they go, but when you have places like, the nursing homes and such, they're going to get a higher call volume than, an average healthy resident.
Now, most of these places are tax exempt. Are they doing any pilot or, in lieu of taxation, paying towards fire protection? I don't know off the top of my head. Does anybody?
I don't believe so, and I don't know that's legal to ask them. I mean, maybe that'd be a question for the attorney.
We could approach them, yes. So maybe
Yeah.
that's something we have to look at too, approaching if, say, one non-for-profit is getting, 30% of our call volume, we could bring it to their attention. I'm just saying that we could approach them as a board and say, this is what's happening, will you contribute? Well, we realize you don't legally have to. People do. Bard College certainly pays for its fire protection.
You're going to miss me when it comes time to go ask that question.
You can approach them.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can, you can always ask. If you ask,
I'm happy to do it.
you should come back for a special.
So let's follow up.
wait
You
one
guys got to
second.
follow.
Oh, I have a concern.
Sure.
I'm concerned with the memorandum because I thought I had worked that out with your attorney. So now
Okay.
you're telling us that if we don't sign or just want to know, if we don't sign the agreement, which I have to see from your attorney, I'm assuming you'll get that to me tomorrow, for the full $187,000 that you are prepared to terminate fire protection to the residents of the town of Rhinebeck and will not respond to calls for residents of the town of Rhinebeck within the fire protection district.
What we approved as a board is to enter into the agreement at the 187, at the 1/365th of the 187,953, and that was the only adjustment to the contract or the agreement in the format, in the draft that we saw tonight that was worked out between you and Rich.
But if the town refuses to sign the increase, you're going to terminate the fire protection as of January 1st to the residents of Rhinebeck?
We approved them to sign it we approved to move forward with the 187,953.
At your rate.
Yeah.
If we wanted to stick with the old rate until we audited, would you terminate our fire protection?
I mean, I can't answer that question as an individual. I can tell you what we did approve to do tonight.
It's still, although it's presented in a much nicer way, it's still sign this or sign it at the level we want or
Alternatively,
terminate.
you're approaching us and saying,
Can we keep
sign it
it
at
with the
our
increase
rate.
that we gave you, with
or we're
the
not gonna sign it.
increase that we did give you as well? It's not like we didn't give any increase. We tried to fit what we could afford into the budget.
And it would be an adjustment either way if we,
Right.
Yeah, there would be an adjustment, so,
Your budget's static until, when does your new budget take effect? June 1st or? June 1st.
correct.
Which
So
you guys
you're
go into
funded-
process in March, though, right?
Yeah.
But you're funded through June 1st at our old rate.
Well, we're funded through December 31st with this
Oh,
contract,
okay, this contract.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
so.
How soon can we get copies of the call sheets?
There's two boxes of them. I'm
Yeah.
not sure it makes sense to make copies. We can sit there and.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
Right.
But I gather you wanted to bring them over here to...
Well, we can do it,
So we have our
gotta
tax
sit there and look at
records,
them and
and
compare them to the tax rolls. That's how you audit them. So-
can we take them over here, across the street?
Or can I have a desk over there with a?
Yeah,
plug?
yeah, I don't know the answer
Calculator.
to that question. What,
I guess
the
we would
possession of
like,
the-
we would like them here.
Yeah.
And we'll set up a desk, maybe in the assessor's office, so that we can consult tax records, parcels.
Okay. And either way, I still think it would be good moving forward, and if from that audit, if you generated some more, data that you wanted to see on a monthly basis, other than what we're already collecting, we can add that in and, make it a more bulletproof data set so we're not here again next Christmas.
I guess
Is
we would,
your preliminary thinking that going forward, you would use this call volume as the lodestar to determine price?
I would say yes. I don't know that there's another way to configure that. And, I would add in that just by the distance involved, it's going to cost less. It's going to be less time, less fuel, less wear and tear on the equipment to go to, a fire on Livingston Street than it is going to be to go out on the edge of the town. So if you're splitting it strictly on call volume, the town is still getting a bargain compared to the village. But I don't know that there exists a mechanism to split that out, per mile, on the vehicle or per mile in response. And that, they're volunteers, so the time frame, if it takes, twice as long to get there, twice as long to get back.
but
it's
what
still
if you
burning.
just go out on a call and come right back, as opposed to go out on a call and stay there all night fighting a fire? Is that the same charge?
Yeah, it's not really a charge. It's just what we're using.
But, I'm
To break
just
it down,
pointing out
right.
an obvious
Yeah.
inequity. We could be charged the same amount for the fire department going from here out to Frost
Right.
Road and coming right back, or going out to Frost Road and spending 10 hours fighting a fire. It's the
Right.
apportionment seems off.
Well, if you look at it across, the average, if you want to average the calls across all of them, the average call in the village is going to be cheaper than the average call to the town, just based
Well-
on distance.
Where are most of your fires? Do we have to look at stuff like that too? Like where are your, what are the call time
Yeah,
durations?
we have to look at the types.
There are lots of different variants with just a
Exactly.
call.
I look at this a little bit differently than most of the board, except because I'm a village resident.
Right.
Because I look at it, if the district is funding 75% historically,
75% of,
the operating costs,
Would-
historically, the contractual and.
The Fire Protection District
Yeah.
funds the village fire department 75% of the operating costs.
Right, so if that happens and we go to this call basis and we pick the wrong criteria, then
Right.
my taxes as a village resident may be going up. And so I'm just telling you, it's very important that we agree, the two
Sure.
boards agree on whatever the criteria is going to be, and I don't think we know what that is yet.
We don't
and I
even
mean,
know
that
what the
may have
data
been,
is.
it may have been looked at that, in that way in the past, but, that operation budget that you're talking 75% of, that doesn't include fuel oil for the building, that doesn't include maintaining the firehouse.
It's
It's
whatever the village reports to the state as contractual expense or equipment, that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
personal services, if any. And so it's those three lines in the A fund, the H fund. And that's, it's how you report that. That's the data that I'm
So do
looking
you
at.
guys know who's going to sit down on these discussions? I won't be on the board anymore, but
You're welcome to,
I think our
come by.
board knows. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
And I think we're proposing that maybe we have a joint committee. And Bruce and Joe
Okay.
have expressed a willingness to continue.
Okay,
And we should know who, obviously, you're the liaison and the commissioner, or, this is positive. We have a plan,
Right.
we're moving forward, we'll look at it. We need to involve the commissioners from the other fire departments and see if everything's in balance.
okay, if it's, I mean, if you're gonna look at the whole, town as a whole, then
I think that's what we have
you'd
to do together.
you guys would have to call in the other.
Yes.
The other two districts and the commissioners.
You have to
and we-
figure out who's working with
Yeah.
Bruce and Joe on the day-to-day.
Yeah, I mean, I
this
will
joint
work with
committee.
them, and we will round out the committee. I'm sure we'll have a couple eager volunteers to work on that.
We're going to be paying you for on an interim basis, for the full contract price that you're demanding. Is there any reason to keep this termination clause so tight? Because I foresee us needing more time to work this out.
You mean the
30 days. If you're
60 days.
If we're going to pay you.
30-day quit.
Essentially what you've
Oh, to quit.
demanded on an interim basis.
Right, why in the world do you need a termination clause if
Yeah,
we're
we're
going to
agreeing
pay
to
the
the-
higher
if we-
Well,
rate?
if I were
Yeah.
them, I would just keep, I would
Right.
not have it in there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think
But
we ought to
it
take
does-
out the
it's really
termination
tight,
clause.
and, you know, I feel more comfortable with a
Open.
60-day or a 90-day, as long as,
Why do you need any day, Warren, if we're going to pay on the higher rate?
Well, who
uh,
gets to quit? Do both
because
of
we
us
may
get to
want
quit the
to, we may want
contract?
to terminate.
Yeah.
We may find that there are alternative ways of.
Okay, you're right, you're right.
Fine.
That's another question, Heath, and I just am trying to figure out all of this, but say in the worst-case scenario, and we found that we could not go along with this, and we found something else to do, could the village pay for the fire department to continue?
What do you mean, Gina? I don't understand.
Well, I think in Fishkill, like, what if we didn't go with the village fire department? I don't think anyone wants to do that, but what would happen if that happened?
I mean, very much theoretical, because I don't think, or hypothetical, I don't know that any of us know the answer to that, but, you know, the costs and the operation would be greatly reduced because they'd only be responding to the village, so, you know, over
And then
time
the
it
village
would.
would have to pay for the entire operating costs.
You're saying you
of the-
could shrink the department, have it cost less,
Serve just
and
the
the
village.
village residents would absorb it all.
Well, hypothetically,
Hypothetically.
I mean, what, hypothetically, what is the alternative to that? Did they, you know,
I don't
contracted
know what
someone
they
else? I mean,
did.
I don't know
Yeah.
that, you know, first, you guys would have to find alternative coverage first, and,
Is it something worth looking at, you know, intramunicipally with other towns near us? You know, with this joint committee, how do we, you know, who's near us? Red Hook's near us, Clinton's near us, Milan's near us, Hyde Park. I mean, do we look at a bigger network beyond just us? I mean, are our fire departments vibrant enough to take care of all of us? Do we spread it out? Is that too big for us to look at? Is it not?
I mean, it seems that
It's difficult, and you also
Yeah.
have to, there's a mileage requirement.
Requirement and a
that
response
they have to
time
do,
for
I
the-
think 5 or 6 miles.
Right.
and that's how the three current departments are set up to meet those demands.
So they're not just placed there by mistake, it was thought.
I don't think so. I mean, they're all independently created, but not by mistake, I don't believe. Certainly wasn't around then.
Can we consider, so this doesn't happen again, there's a provision, I think it's under 185 of the town law, that provides in such contracts that if they are going to be essentially terminated by, when I say terminated, that would be that you're not going to renew this contract under the same terms, that we be advised by August of the next year, so we have enough time and to prepare for that. We can put that into the contract. and-
Yeah, that sounds like
That sounds
maybe it would be
like-
appropriate for the end state when we work out that agreement, you know, after this temporary one. You know, I don't see why that language couldn't be in there, but, you know, that's probably
it
more
go
of an
in-
attorney-to-attorney kind of thing.
Should it go in the CPA one?
No, I just don't know whether I need to get some authorization. We're under a tight time frame here. Obviously, I need to see the contract that you've agreed to tonight, and Rich Olson could get that to me. But I'm going to need some authorization from the town board, unless you want to have another special meeting before the end of the year, to authorize the supervisor to sign that contract. We could sign it with the flexibility that could be signed up to the $187,000.
When is the new
figure.
contract signed, in January or now?
We have to have a public hearing. We can't sign, you have to understand, even if we came to terms tomorrow, we have to have a public hearing on the contract, on the final contract. So it's not going to be signed till January, no matter what.
The final contract, not the
Final
temporary
contract.
agreement.
That's
the
correct. The temporary agreement, no, we can do it now, but I don't have an agreement in final form for you
Yeah.
to vote on unless you pass
Authorize
an
you.
open-ended resolution allowing that the agreement to be signed up to the $187,000
But what do we expect in that interim agreement? We expect that it'll be the higher rate, that you said we wanted a longer period than 60 days. It's till we reach a conclusion, and there's an out after, and I think 60 days, what's it, 30 days notice?
I would be much more comfortable at least 60 days, as long as we're paying the higher rate. And we wanted an account, there has to be an accounting at the end. So if we come to terms on a lower contractual amount, there has to be an accounting for the overpayment. And,
Right, I think they said they agreed to that concept, the counting one way or the other.
But it's not in the current.
It's not in the language that, in the draft you have. I mean, I thought that took place between you and Rich before tonight.
If you could just tell Rich to get that to me like tomorrow if possible. So, and that if you want to propose a resolution really giving the open-ended authority to the supervisor with the advice of council to sign that agreement, that way we don't have to come back and have a
I think
special
that's fine.
meeting.
I'm fine with that.
I make a motion
I second it
based on what he
happily.
said.
All in favor, aye?
Aye. Thank
That
you,
makes
Heath.
sense.
Merry
And this
Okay,
is
thank you.
substantially
Merry
along the
Christmas.
lines we're talking about
Exactly,
tonight,
those
with
three
longer
major points,
periods.
I'll send it all to you as soon as I get it.
All right, well, I want to thank you again
Oh,
for
thank you.
coming,
Yes,
all of
thanks,
you.
Yep, look forward to working on the final
We
one.
will be
Going
in
through the
touch with you.
data.
Okay.
Thank you, Heath.
We have no presentations today. Sure, Jim.
Jim Reardon, Mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck. Contrary to what Gina had said before, I never said that the Village of Rhinebeck would not provide fire service to the town of Rhinebeck. What I said is we had no intention of continuing an agreement that was going to cost our taxpayers dollars. Okay, so with that said, we had asked you folks, what information do you need from us? We did that back in October, and you approved your budget with no consideration to asking us for any information so that you could sit down and have an intelligent discussion. So that's where my point has been all along, is that there's been no conversation between the town board and the village. That's all water under the bridge. Now we move forward. I just want to address a couple of things. I wrote some notes here. The mutual aid system, the way that works, and this is by law, this is the way it has to work. If the call goes out and you're on mutual aid, there's 3 mutual aid calls 5 minutes apart. If there's no signed contract between the village and the town, technically the Village of Rhinebeck Fire Department does not have to respond until that third call, which is 15 minutes later. Is that our intention? No, we don't want to do that. We want to come to some type of a reasonable agreement here and not just ignore the fact that we have concerns and you have concerns. That's our desire, okay? Joe, you asked a question about prior contracts, and quite frankly, there's no clear-cut answer to that question, okay? When I got on the village board, or was elected mayor in 2009, I started looking at all our operations, and whether it be the fire department, the highway department, wastewater department, water department, village hall, you name it, police department, I started looking at all the operations. And I identified at that time that the fire department didn't have a clear accounting of where their responses were. And we as a village providing service to the town didn't have an accurate picture of what our cost was. So we began in 2010 tracking the call volumes and where the responses were to. And now in 2013, we have come up with data that has, over 4 years, determined on average that 52% of the calls we respond to in the for Rhinebeck Fire Department are in the town. Do we have an accounting of how many hours those calls are, whether the truck goes and comes right back? No. Do we have an accounting of whether they're there fighting a fire? No. You can look at the 911 rip and run reports and you can identify what the call was for, but we don't have a tracking system for the amount of time they're actually on the scene fighting a fire. You have an out time from the station and you have an in time
So there
back
is an
into
in
the
and out,
station.
so you do have an in and out.
Yes,
So
because
that's
that piece of
that's
equipment
something.
is then going back into service. okay?
That's something then.
The other districts, we don't have any information about how the other districts operate. All we know is how we operate, okay? I think my position in this all along, and when I talked with Elizabeth, she basically was in agreement with me. I think the town really needs to identify what they're looking for from us and from the other districts. We can't provide anything for Hillside or Rhinecliff, of course. We can only provide you with what you need from the Village of Rhinebeck. So it's up to you to identify what you need. One other thing I forgot, the mutual aid thing, and this is a touchy subject, and I understand maybe you have an issue with the fire truck going down to Long Island after Hurricane Sandy. But what I would say is mutual aid is designed so that we all work together to help each other out. And Hillside responds on mutual aid. Rhinecliff responds on mutual aid. Rhinebeck does. Red Hook does. Pine Plains does. Milan does. That's a system that's designed to benefit everybody.
Can I just,
Let me just finish one point, okay?
Yep.
And yeah, we could sit down and we could probably find, maybe in the course of a year, I don't know, maybe we'll find 20 calls that are disputable, but you're helping your neighbors out there, all right? And if we need the service, we expect them to come. So are we wrong to say we're not going to pay for the mutual aid to another fire district when we expect them to come do it for us?
I don't,
So I'll just throw that out there.
yeah,
We can continue the
I'm going to
conversation.
chirp in and just say, of course, nobody would ever say we don't want to, but if it's just being charged, it was being charged only to the fire protection district instead of apportioned. It was just an example. And of course, this, it's volunteer fire departments helping whoever needs the help, but
Correct.
yeah.
And I think if we take the analysis and you look at what the village charges, what the Hillside District charges, and what the Rhinecliff District charges, lump all those funds together, and think about the amount of money we're spending, and it's roughly $500,000, and these are all volunteers, we're getting a pretty damn good bang for our buck for $500,000.
Yes, we are.
So we need to sit down, we need to talk about this, but clearly I will say, I think the town really needs to provide us with information they're looking for from us. I mean, we can give you that rip and run report box, and you can see where it went, and you can see what time it left and what time it gave back, but I don't really see where that's really going to benefit you a lot. That's all I'll say. Well, no, in closing,
You wanna speak to
we're
it?
talking about a temporary agreement here for the 180, at the 365th of the 187, okay? 60, 90 days, you tell us what you think you need in order to get this information resolved. Would be to your benefit, probably, to resolve it sooner than later. Thank you.
And thank you again for coming. I think this has been positive, so thank you.
Right, Mayor. Moving on to no presentations, any liaison reports. Item H is a continuation of the public hearing for local law number of 20.
Oh, one thing for
20
liaison, I'm sorry, Tom.
13, go ahead.
The zoning board needs 2 new members, and so we're looking to fill those spots as soon as possible. If anyone wants to volunteer, it's a great board, and it's very important work, so I just wanted to let everyone know that.
Right, Zoning Board of Appeals, 2 members, please sign up. Call Town Hall, 876-3409. Can we advertise this, John? Do we advertise? Can we put it out in the paper? No? Money? Okay.
We'll put it on our website.
Yeah, people need to send in an application.
Volunteers, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's some member of the press here that wants to put that in for us, that would be great.
Item H, the continuation of the public hearing for local law 2013 to establish an office for single appointed assessor pursuant to real property tax law 328. Elizabeth, I think you wanted to.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to extend the public hearing into 2014 to February 24th, which is our second meeting of February. I just want to speak as one of the 2 liaisons to the Assessor's Department that we have been working with the chair of the department on this issue of reconstructing the department, and he's been unable to, due to personal reasons, illness, has been unable to work with us. So we fully intended to be in another place, and obviously we're not. So we've heard what you've said, and we'd like to continue looking at this. We'd like to make a cohesive report and a recommendation to the public in the new year with the chair of the department's input. So I don't want to cut anyone off, but it was always our intention to work with the chair, and obviously he's not able to do that right now. So I think the best thing for us to do would be to pick it up again in the new year when he's doing better and address everybody's concerns.
So are we leaving it open, or?
I'd like to make a motion to continue it to February 24th, I believe. Is that our correct meeting date? It is.
We haven't established it, right?
Right. Theoretically, if we stick to the same.
February
Same
24th.
Can we speak tonight or not?
We We have an open motion, and of course, we don't want to not have speaking for myself, it wasn't my intention not to have anyone speak, it was just to make this motion. So
I second the motion.
thank you.
So the motion is second to continue, even though it is still open, until the second meeting of February 2014. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Yes.
However, public comments are still open.
Absolutely welcome, but if you wanted to wait till the very end, you were just trying to save you from coming back twice. Absolutely, please.
No one's,
That's what I want to know. All right. Is the hearing open now? Or?
The
Yes.
hearing is open.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out. Tom, I want you to know what I say now does not apply to you. You've done a good job, and I'm sorry to see you go.
I don't know if I thank you or not yet. Thanks, man.
I am proud to come before you to argue the case for the 3 elected assessors. This has been an exercise in sheer stupidity, with the town board refusing to divulge the cost savings or major reasons to go to one appointed assessor. The state, in its idiocy, has thrown you a bone, and you are dumb enough to take it. The state has a very short memory, or possibly instant amnesia, on this issue. Not many years ago in Hyde Park, they had a major scandal involving its loan assessor, Basil Rossi. I do not remember all the sordid details, but I believe the bonding company involved with the installation of a complete new water system discovered that the assessed valuation was too low to support such an undertaking. The valuations were inflated falsely, which led to an investigation of improprieties by the state, and I think the federal government was also involved. Rossi was facing criminal charges of misconduct and solved the problem for everyone by taking a midnight dive into the Hudson River. The water system was already under construction at the time, was taken over by the county. These are issues which should be made public and not kept under wraps. So the single assessor system is not infallible, and far from it. A town board that appoints an assessor that has that person under their thumb at all times, and this is very unhealthy. I don't care what the state says about it. When it comes to common sense, they can be a day late and $1 short. If you truly believe that the single assessor is the greatest thing to come down the pike since sex, then I believe you should return to the first grade, start your formal education over again, because somewhere along the line you missed the boat. You are dealing with elected officials, and if you are honest and honorable, you would defer this matter to next November's election and let the public decide the issue. Of course, it was never planned to be this way. It's a very quiet, slippery, under-the-table vote, and you're scheduling such an important issue during the holidays is proof of that. To make it even easier, why didn't you schedule tonight's meeting for Christmas Day? Emery Ruger has been an elected assessor for 28 years. To treat him and other assessors like shit in a barnyard is about as low as it gets. When handling an issue like this, a town board should show especially maturity and class. I see neither here. In all my years of public service, which is presently at 41, the village and town boards have worked well together. But in recent years, this has changed, and there is no reason for it except one: politics. Politics is written all over this issue, and is sad and sick that it should be. And don't give me the crap that times change and older residents don't appreciate these changes. We don't. However, I wouldn't trade my public service experience and common sense for all your college educations combined. This has and will be a colossal embarrassment to Rhinebeck, and is absolutely disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I just want to share a letter that I had received. This is actually sent to me as the mayor from a town resident, Marissa Haggerty, who lives on 28 Hiley Road, and apparently she had read the press release that I had sent out. Dear Mayor Reardon, it is my understanding that Rhinebeck is considering changing the election of 3 town assessors to the appointing of 1 assessor approved by the town board. I read in the Daily Freeman that Councilwoman Gina Fox claimed that Rhinebeck is among the 12% of towns in the state that still elect their assessors. For this reason, in addition to the cheaper costs, I can see why the board proposed this change. However, I disagree with this proposition because on the surface it seems undemocratic. As was said by Supervisor Thomas Trout, this would make the assessors less accessible to the people who elect them and the Rhinebeck community as a whole. There has been little to no information as to why this change is necessary, yet you put it best. If it ends up being beneficial to the community and making the government more efficient, then I have no problem with it. I just wanted to let you know that I agree with you on that. Hopefully the citizens of Rhinebeck will be more informed soon enough regarding this issue. I trust that as our mayor, you will support whatever decision is best, and if the assessor ends up being a single appointed official, you will choose the best one. Not that I get to choose the best one. That's up to you folks.
Thank you.
That's signed by Marissa Haggerty.
Further comments?
Members of the board, thank you for having this hearing. I just want to hand out, I got a letter. This is sent to all the certified assessors in New York State, appointed or elected, or you're on the board. And it's basically a continuing education status report. I made some copies. I'd like to leave with you, whoever your assessors may be in the future, whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you'll get a good idea of what courses they have to take to get certified. So you'll have a better understanding of the position. And I'd like to pass these out to you, all the members.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. These are the same.
If you look at this report, they have a continuing education year, and Councilman Gebb did break up a point about the educational requirements of a board of assessors. You'll look on one of the pages in the back. It's optional. After you get certified, everyone takes the same basic courses, whether it's in a classroom, via the computer, or self-study. And then, so we're on the same footing. We're in the same classroom with members, fellow aspiring assessors from all over the state, whether you're up in the Adirondacks or out in Buffalo or down in Long Island. After we get certified, if you notice, I came to office, we are on the election line as well as you folks were elected. And in 2008, I was fortunate, ran with Emery Ruger, and we were elected. And 4 years later, I was reelected. So each year, you can see credits awarded. The requirement for the appointed assessors is 12 per year. That's 12 hours of classroom study. That's what it involves. And the requirement was met by myself and Jack O'Brien because basically we're kind of semi-retired. We don't have a full-time business to run like our chairman. Emery Ruger is a very busy guy. I mean, he's in property management, construction, and I've known Emery 35 years. He started in the Rhinebeck Country School as a maintenance manager, and through hard work, and he's developed a very active business, and we're very blessed to have his talent on this Board of Assessors. He was elected once and re-elected 6 times. 6 times. Now, the people had a voice. If we weren't doing the job, somebody else would run against him, but nobody did. I think he had 1 contested election, and the whole time it was the last 2 years ago. I want to emphasize that because we have a 4-year term, but it's not, a lifetime job. You have to be reelected. So I was very fortunate. I won by a very slim margin last 2 years ago, but be it as it may, I take this job very seriously. I'm in good health, and I enjoy these classrooms. I enjoy meeting other assessors, and I wish to continue. Now, this is a guide, and I must admit, there are pros and cons to both. You can be appointed and get political pressure. You can be on a board of assessors where the 3 board members don't get along. That can be very dysfunctional. I'll be honest. And I did hear, when I went to school, I heard pro and con on both. That's one of the reasons why I think the state was pushing for a sole assessor. But we're blessed to have, for the last 20 years, you had Jack O'Brien, Alex D'Imperio, and Emery on the board, and everyone got along great, worked a smooth running team. And I came on board, I've known these guys for 30 years, we get along very well, we function very well. We had a serious illness in April. Jack O'Brien had to fight cancer, and he's still fighting, and he's doing well. But we had to carry on with 2 members and a very comparable assessor clerk. But we have a team, and we're all long-term residents of this town. We take it hard, just like all you guys do on the board. This is a very serious business, and it's the type of job where people laugh and say, well, who wants to be assessor? It's not the most popular job, just like you guys get a lot of flack on the board. And I must compliment every elected official that's in this town, whether you're the highway superintendent, supervisor, board member. There's a lot of responsibility, and I know you get the phone calls. I was a village trustee for 2 years. I know you do get phone calls, and and we're not paid a king's ransom either, and you are dedicated. I compliment you on that. So I would give you serious thought to keep it as a status quo. We have a smooth running town. We have our differences at times, but I think we work things out very well, and it's a beautiful town. That's why everybody moves here, really. So with that, I'm sorry it took this much time, but I hope it opens up, at least it's informative to you. And we try to stay current, whatever courses are offered that pertain to the town we go to. And I can speak, most of the courses I went to in the last 4 years, Jack O'Brien came with me. And then we'd share, when we come back, we share with the chairman, we all get along. We go out to lunch, we talk about the subject, and we have good communication between all 3 guys. So thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry it took so long.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I want to go home. I'm Piper Woods. I'm actually a village property owner, business, commercial property, and I'm also a town resident. So to be honest, I'm not really sure, which might be a better way to go. Obviously I have no issue with the way it currently is, but I find it very interesting that, and this is a little bit, this is my first meeting, but I have been getting Jim's emails. I find it a little interesting that after, you're doing your due diligence with regard to the fire district and the fire department, it's unclear to me why you haven't yet provided the public with the cost difference between, the 1 person versus the, I don't know, what is it, 2 or 3 or 4, I'm not quite sure, 3 people. And I really think that is imperative before you make your decision for those costs to be released to the public. So that's number 1. Number 2 really is, are you looking to, with the change to having 1 person, are you looking to change the objectives of this person's job? Do you have a specific goal in mind that maybe you think the current assessors aren't doing, certain tasks to, to the level that you're looking for? And what are those? What are those objectives? And then let's see. again, just what would be the cost? I'm interested in knowing what the cost difference would be between the one person versus the 3 people. And I don't want to beat the horse about the cost or whatever, but I mean, let's face it, like, you listen to Obama say, like, oh, there's not going to be any cost difference whatsoever. Well, there was a huge cost difference with Obamacare. Myself, my business, you're getting a huge hit. And as one of the I'm not going to say I'm the largest property, but one of the bigger properties in the village, I don't want to get a hit for an added cost. So I would really like for you guys to choose or go with whichever is going to be the best cost savings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're pro cost savings for this department.
I'm pro cost savings, but I'm also there's 2 sides to the story. There's one, the person is actually cost.
Could you go back to, I'm sorry.
You're not supposed to engage.
There's 2 sides to it. There's one, like the person's, cost as an employee, so their benefits. Are you going to be paying them health insurance? Are they going to get a pension? I don't know how it works, 401k, I don't know, retirement. Their salary. And then there's also the flip side of is your objective to have the assessors basically raise the current assessments? I mean, what are your objectives? So there's sort of 2 sides to it. There's the cost of the employee, and there could be or there could be a raising of the. Do you feel that the assessor is not properly, assessing the properties? And I don't know which is worse. Am I better off, paying, some employee more money, or am I better off? I don't want to get hit with a higher assessor on my property. And I think you will find, if that is your intent, I think you will. I can't speak to the residential properties, but generally speaking, with the commercial, we're based upon. Anyway, I'm not going to go. I was going to say we're based upon rent and stuff like that, and which is not as good as it was 10 years ago. So.
Thank you.
No, go ahead, Meg, go ahead.
To start with, thank you so much for continuing the hearing through to February. I've spoken to a number of people in the last couple of days, and apparently this issue was not well known in the community.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself?
Oh, sorry, Meg Tedisco, I'm from Rhinecliff. And I think that people will now have an opportunity to get educated about what this is all about. I did find the page on the tax.ny.gov that talks about this. It's kind of a bit vague. It seemed to me that it was focused on the training issue more than anything else, that if you have an appointed assessor, this person will, by virtue of getting appointed, have the requirement to do the trainings every year. I think that can be addressed with anybody who's elected. I would make one request, that it be the link to the relevant page on tax.ny.gov be put on the town's website so that people can easily access it and read for themselves, what at least the state is putting forward as its case. And finally, just in case I don't get to the meeting in February, according to the summary of the real property law relevant sections, it rests with the town board. It is at the town board's discretion whether or not to require a referendum on the issue. I would strongly advocate for a referendum. Let the people be heard. We're not yet an oligarchy, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meg.
Bill, I don't want to get into answering anybody's questions or comments. Okay, I just want to take public hearing comments, and we'll continue this in February. Okay.
After the meeting.
Any further comments from the public? Any further public comments? Okay, so we'll continue this in February. or the next meeting, whatever. Want to set it up. All right, so moving on to business items. Item number 1, resolution approving abstract 12B vouchers V1209 through V1257, 41 checks, $43,728.41. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Aye.
Item 2 is a resolution approving the preliminary capital project for 2013, abstract 3 for checks, 3 checks for $5,714.25. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second?
Come on, give me a second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 4, resolution approving, item 3, a resolution approving the budget transfers and amendments.
Motion.
A second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is item 4 on standby then, for the fire?
We need to set a public hearing for the contracts, for the other two, at least, right, for Hillside and Rhinecliff?
I would set them for all 3 because we do have the contracts for the village. We can have the public hearing. If the contract changes, we can keep the public hearing open on the Rhine.
Should we set it for a reorg meeting?
Do you want to do that at the reorg meeting? Yeah. When's the next meeting after that?
The 20, what did we
No,
just?
do it at the reorg meeting, yeah.
Which is like the 13th, is that the 13th, John, the reorg?
No,
Sorry.
it's,
It was earlier than that.
So we'll,
What is the date?
January
January
13th, for motion and second to set a public hearing for the reorganizational meeting for January 13th, 2014. Motion and second.
now, let me just ask one other question on that, or are we up to discussion?
Well, we have an open motion, I think. To
Is
make
it
a
second?
motion?
Second.
I second it.
Add
Well,
discussion.
Warren, so what we would do with the village is, assuming that you work something out with the village attorney, that would be the, let's call it the interim contract. That's
Right.
the one that would be approved.
No, that would be it's just a memorandum of understanding that we're continuing the existing contract, but we're raising the price to.
So what, okay, then I'm confused.
But you would
as-
be approving at the public hearing the actual contract that they sent, but it's unlikely that we will have that ready for that public hearing.
Right, of
We could-
course.
So my suggestion would be to just, I'd like,
So we
you
would
might want to
table
get some
that one?
comments from the public on the proposed contract from the village. So I would just have all 3, but keep the village open until we finalize the contract.
Because obviously, we're not going to have the
We're not gonna
data analyzed.
Right,
and,
no.
Okay. So all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 5 is a resolution appointing the chair of the zoning board of appeals. But he's not resigned yet, right?
I think we need to make a motion to hold this over for the reorg. The zoning board meets after our reorg meeting.
It does 2 days after, and
But let me
this,
say, so you may want to, do they have a meeting before that reorg, though?
I'm sorry?
Do they have a meeting
No.
before?
The planning
Okay.
board does, the zoning board
does
does not.
not.
Okay. So you can hold it over till then.
Hold it over, but can you amend it to also add Scott Bergen as the,
Yes, I put that in the reorg notes. John, will you carry that over? Weston and Bergen as vice chair for
Does he
reorg?
expire? Anybody expire right before then?
No.
no,
Before the
just
reorg?
Dave.
Okay.
David retired on his,
Right.
finishing his term. He's the only one.
Yeah. Just time was there. All right. So hold over till the January 13th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 6, appointing the registrar, deputy registrar, vital statistics.
We need that for January 1st, sir. Yeah. Motion.
I'm sorry.
Second?
Say that again.
I make a motion. We do need this person, our.
As a term?
Yes,
Gotcha.
it starts.
Okay.
Business.
Any
The first
discussion?
business day.
Any discussion?
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Yep, I second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
That's for Sharon, we just did, right?
No, we just did vital statistics. Now we're
Gotcha.
doing
Number 6.
Sharon Sherrod, 7-year term.
She meets. Motion and second to appoint Sharon Sherrod to planning board.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's so moved. Planning board, reappointment of the chair and appoint, we have actually the chair and the vice chair of the planning board, Michael Trimble and Melody Moore. Motion and
A
second.
motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thrilled to have them.
So moved.
Thank you.
A resolution authorizing the bid for the lawn care contract.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, let me just ask you, Bruce, my understanding is that the contract will be, in effect, just the bid documents signed by the most favorable bidder? There's no other contract?
No.
Or is there, right?
No, it's services April to October. It's the properties and the schedule.
I'm just wondering if we ought to add something giving us a right to terminate during the period of the contract, say on 30 days' notice or whatever we
We can
think.
put that into the bid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can we
Yeah,
put
can
that
do
in the bid?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can
Good.
add it to the bid.
Great.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Resolution number 10, resolution approving the police contract. Motion and second.
Motion?
Second.
Police contract?
Yeah, that's fine.
All in favor?
Unless you've had any problem, I'm
No,
assuming you had
no.
no problems with that.
Nope.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 11 is a resolution approving the cemetery notice. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Was there
Do
any,
you want to speak about, yeah.
was there any funding that we were supposed to move and decide upon that Shelley had mentioned to you for leftovers from this year? For example, contingency?
For the cemetery?
For anything?
Yes.
That you know about, that we have to make a motion on now before the end of the year?
We'll come back to that, but can we speak about the cemetery for one?
Sure, yeah.
I just want to point out that this is not a new rule or law. This is just asking us to enforce something that's already existing. The cemetery has asked us to enforce the rule to restrict planting of shrubs and trees, and they're asking people to remove them voluntarily, and if they don't, the caretaker will be removing them. So this has been on our books for quite some time, and we're just going to move forward with enforcing it.
And the cemetery committee is working on changing some of the rules and regulations that won't necessarily be posted on the signs, but is given to every plot owner. Those do incorporate some changes, and so the public needs to be more aware of those as they come out of their meeting on January 15th.
Can you speak to what the cemetery committee is trying to achieve here? Are they trying to achieve a different look, or?
No, not a different look, but people have started planting small trees which can't be mowed around, and they can encroach on other plots that aren't within their structure. So we just wanted to make that more clear, that you cannot plant shrubs and trees.
Okay.
And that's all.
That's what will be removed.
Right. They
Right.
can still plant flowers within their prescribed owned area.
We're asking people to do it voluntarily. After the
Right.
15th of April, the caretaker will remove these.
That's right.
Thank you. Encumbering leftover money?
Nothing Shelley mentioned to you?
No, but there was leftover money for the web committee that we are going to use before middle January, when the bills come out, to do some changes on the website. I didn't have any other discussion. Did you?
Typically, there's something left over that we will.
In the cemetery?
It'll go back to the regular fund it came from if we don't move it, so.
You're talking-
There's a lot of things, like the freezer that we authorized for the concession stand. We borrowed one for the summer, but that's still authorized. We're going to need to buy it. That should be encumbered.
Well, we have
It's
to.
anything in the resolutions that hasn't been accounted for.
Well, do we have to spend it by a certain time, by mid-January when the vouchers are signed?
It's whatever, we allocated the money, and we should close it by the end of when the book's closing this year.
Right,
Yeah,
February,
usually it's
closed at the
February.
end of February, we decided that's when we close
Yeah, we should-
the books
I mean,
on
I've gone through my
2013.
committee and board, and looked at what we haven't spent and have basically written out a purchase order and committed the money to specific projects if needed. If not, I would assume it would go back into funds balance. I don't know that we can earmark it if we don't have a specific project, but as with the
That's very
freezer.
specific.
The freezer,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
All right.
Then
so
you should
there's,
do it.
Okay.
So you can do that by February. Okay, so that's all. There's no discussion items. So motion and second to adjourn.
A motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you.